everyone, how's it going? Thank you so much for joining in today. Just tuning in for Global Hack Week this week. It's always amazing to have you all here, and it's especially awesome because it's in it. It's the launch of the hackathon season, so I am really happy to see all of you here today. I see this chatter already. I think Yash was asking for me. Hey, but aside from that, we've got a few folks here. Luna Liu here says hi. Ash, hi there as well. Woo, lots of folks. Nice. Hi, Priyansh. Hey, hello. Always great to have you all here. So, just in the meantime, while we're still starting off, it'd be great if we all could just make sure that we're checked into the event here. I'm gonna throw in the check-in link once for you all. Um, it's available, it should be here with you in the chat now. So just make sure that you've gone in and you've checked into the event, and that'll help you get your little point for your guilds throughout in its week, of course. So make sure that you do that. All right. And aside from that, of course, it's great if you can check into init, of course, on the whole and day two. If you want to see how to do that, I'll just bring up my screen once. Just give me a second here. Shifting us to the right here, just on my second screen. Um, I'm bringing up my screen now. Yeah. So first of all, of course, the important thing here is to make sure that we go to hackpack/init and we make sure that we're checked in. I can type that in and see if that is the link, and if that is the one, yeah, that should be the one. I'll send it here in the chat as well. Send our link here in the chat for everyone as well. And of course, once you do that, it's a good idea to register and check in. After that, since we're at day two, just make sure that you hover over to the day two link as well, and you register and check in there if you haven't already. If you're just registered but not checked in, you will see a button that says just check in here. So make sure you complete these steps. And third, of course, check into the event that we have. For this, I've already shared the link on Discord as well and in the chat. So I think we should be good to go. And I'll also share the day to check in once. Here, that's done. So just I'll tell you what, if you want to spend a few minutes just making sure that you're checked in on all of these links, that would be totally all right. And in the meantime, let me tell you a little about what we're going to be doing today, right? Because I mean, the topic that we have here for this session is a little interesting, of course. Create a hack that sends a message. If you're talking about sending a message, what sort of a message? Initially, this idea was inspired from the idea of sending postcards. So definitely, it's gonna involve us sending our own greetings or our wishes to people, you know, we care about, people who are nice to us. So I'll tell you what, since we already have a little occasion here, right? That's Global Hack Week in it. Why not build an application that lets you invite other people to Global Hack Week in it, right? So I'll tell you what. I've been thinking a little about this today morning. I've been thinking about some ideas here, and I think two technologies that allow us to reach out to a lot of people, to communicate with them, let them know, of course, what we want to share, um, and let us do so with the tech that we like, are Twilio and Sendgrid. So I think we're going to be featuring both of these today. We'll have a little bit of Twilio, a little bit of Sendgrid. It's going to be nice. It'll be fun. And aside from that, I think I am going to use a really interesting platform to make an application. It's one that I've been looking forward to using, but I haven't had a chance to do so in a little bit of time. But I think some of you know how big of a Xamarin fan I've been, right? Building cross-platform apps with .NET. Well, recently, Xamarin started merging into the .NET ecosystem even further and further, and we've now had this new little platform called .NET Maui come out recently, and Maui here stands for Multi-App User Interface, if I'm not wrong. Multi-Platform App User Interface. Yeah. So this lets us build cross-platform apps for the mobile as well as the desktop using C Sharp and .NET. So I'll tell you what, let's try out .NET Maui today. And the fun thing is that while I've installed and set up Maui on my system, I haven't yet had a chance to build much with it either. So I think this is going to be a little interesting, isn't it? Yeah, and I think someone's already shared the link for us. Thank you so much for that. Um, oh yeah, by the way, uh, thanks for mentioning that. Flutter is a great framework. I just want to mention in the meantime that you are allowed to use whatever technologies you want, at least as far as your submission goes, which we will be doing later on as well. We're not restricting you to any tech stack. You are more than free to build with whatever technologies and whatever languages make you comfortable. All right. There's not going to be any force there. So just feel free to go about it in whatever way you like. All right. No pressure. That being said, I'm going to be using Maui. So if you want to follow along, it's you can definitely do that as well if you'd like. Okay. So yeah, let me just take a few seconds. Um, and I want to open up some relevant links here for us. So so that just before we've got ourselves set up. So let me go ahead and bring my screen back up once again. And I'm gonna keep us here on the right. My second display is available here, so it'll let me work on my primary while I keep an eye out on you folks as well. So yeah, let me just get started. And yes, in the meantime, let me also share, we see Cytronical Twitch here is shared the first app link for Maui, but let me also just share that once again so that people on other platforms can, YouTube or Facebook can also try it out. There we go. I think it should be there now. All right, now bringing up my screen here for us. Also, by the way, if any of you have any doubts in the middle, please keep throwing them in the chat. I will keep an eye out. So you shouldn't have any problems. All right. But just, I need a second, I think. Taking a small bit of time here. Sorry about that. But yeah, just bringing up my screen here. So we should be good in a few seconds. All right, I believe my screen should be up now, right? So as I shared in the link, we've got, we've got this little link here, this tutorial here to build your first app with .NET Maui. But the first thing here that we want to do is we want to make sure that we have the latest version of Visual Studio. And especially not just the latest version that's Visual Studio 2022, but the latest preview of that, because Maui is currently available in the preview options. That is because it is still moving towards full availability. So for now, it would be a good idea for you to install the preview version here, and you can install the Visual Studio 2022 community preview for free. So I'm sending in a link for that. You can go ahead and you can install from there, and that should get you started. And once you've installed the Visual Studio 2022 community preview, of course, just well, that'll get you set up. Make sure that you have the .NET multi-platform app UI development option selected here. If you want, you can set up any of the others as well. But for now, if you don't have Visual Studio, this will probably be the quickest way to do that. All right. I see there's some folks here getting exposed to Maui for the first time. uh, yeah, it does sound familiar from there, doesn't it? Don't worry, it's gonna be all right. We're gonna have a little walkthrough here, just to make sure that everyone's comfortable, and everyone's having an all right time. The best part is all the documentation is there. You can have a look through this as well as you go ahead and build your first application, or at least for the hack we're going to follow along, so we'll have a comfortable time. I do realize that we're going to have to create a new device here to test the application, so it's going to be nice. We'll try a few things alongside. Okay, but yeah, that's the basic well, the tutorial for building our app. We just got to get it set up, get the Maui packages installed, and after that we'll set up an Android emulator for us. I will be using Android because I am going to be targeting that platform. I do want to test it out on my phone here as well, which is a OnePlus. So yeah, we'll go ahead with Android for now. That being said, with Maui, you can create applications for Mac OS and Windows along with Samsung Tizen as well. So if we have trouble with the mobile, we can always test out the Windows application and see how that comes out. So it'll be fun. As far as Maui goes, I am not sure if you can install it on Linux at the moment. I do believe it is targeted for Windows and Mac at the moment. Let me see. Let me check. I do believe that we'll have to stick to Windows and Mac OS for this time, for this moment. Okay, I think that's just targeted platform. I do believe that we will have to stay focused on Windows and Mac for now. I am not sure if there is a Visual Studio ID available for Linux, and that's basically what's necessary. So yeah, I think VS Code is there, but that won't do in our scenario here. So that's going to be a little issue if you're on Linux at the moment. But that being said, you can still work with any platforms you like, or if you want to create a console app to follow along, that should be totally good to go. I'll tell you what. I think for the moment, before we jump into Maui, since I mentioned we're going to be playing with Sendgrid and Twilio to, create a little to create our application to send a message. We can use that in a console app for now, and then see how that ports over to Maui after that. Maybe that might help out a little more. Um, for the for Maui, at least, just once again, since I saw people are asking if you want to pick one, make sure that you're getting the preview version. You do need the Visual Studio 2022 preview to try out Maui. That's just going to be necessary. So make sure you get the preview version. All right. Now, sending a message here with Twilio and Sendgrid, of course, will need a little bit of setup as well. So while I have shared about Maui, let's try out and let's see how Twilio and Sendgrid work. And in the meantime, you can get it set up on your system. It might take a little bit of time, of course, because larger packages and it's a full-fledged IDE. So this should give us a decent bit of time, right? Should be good. First of all, of course, since we're mentioning Twilio and Sendgrid so much, what really is Twilio? So Twilio essentially offers you a cloud communications as a service platform that lets you leverage APIs for SMS, video calling, phone calling, emailing, communication through most major channels, to let you communicate with people. And on top of this, they've built out a full-fledged customer engagement platform that lets you personalize interactions, and quantify your customer data to understand them a lot better. So they've actually got quite a few different offerings here. If you see, they've got messaging with support for SMS, WhatsApp. They've got programmable voice that lets you create phone calls with your code. They've got video calling. Twilio Live is there to help you create live streaming experiences. And then there is email, which we will open in a separate tab for now because we're going to be trying that out as well. And that is done through SendGrid. Let me just open SendGrid's own dedicated website here as well in the meantime. But aside from that, they've got a few different applications that you can use as well, like Twilio Flex, which lets you build out contact center solutions, marketing campaigns, which ties in with SendGrid here to help you manage email marketing. You've got Twilio Frontline to let your employees connect with customers. They've got account security through Authy. If you're aware of the two-factor authentication system, that's probably going to give you a good idea. And Segment here is another offering they have that lets you collect customer data in a better manner. Then, of course, for connectivity, they've got support for IoT, elastic SIP trunking, phone numbers, which we're going to be trying out as well today, along with shortcodes. So, few different channels, few different applications. Seems a little heavy, but we're gonna be okay. All right, it's not gonna be very difficult. Don't worry. Twilio's a fantastic platform that way. They've got support for quite a lot. In the meantime, I'll tell you what. We also want to make sure that we're getting set up on Twilio, right? So the fun thing is, I will just send you a link in a few seconds if you can give me. All right. I've sent in a Twilio registration link here that we have that will let you get $50 worth of credits on Twilio. For SendGrid, there is a different sign up process that we have that we will look into as well. But in the meantime, first let's get started with Twilio, of course. So if you go ahead, enter the link that I sent over, that will take you to a registration page with a promo attached. This promo here lets you get $50 worth of credits for your Twilio account. All right. So you can go ahead and register from here. I do already have an account, so I am gonna go ahead and log in. But make sure to sign up if you haven't already done that. Of course, there is two-factor because, well, security is important on this front, isn't it? But yeah, I logged in recently, so it'll just take me through that for now. So whenever you access your Twilio account, you're gonna have to first create a project for yourself. All right, I already had done that, so it has this set up for me. Once you create a project, it'll give you an account SID and an auth token, but we do need to create a phone number for ourselves as well. So on the develop tab, if I have phone numbers pinned for me, but if you can't find it, just click on explore products and you can scroll down to phone numbers to access phone numbers here for you. All right. And once you do that, you'll have to purchase a phone number for yourself if you haven't already. So on the phone numbers tab, we've got a few different options like active numbers, release numbers. Release numbers are numbers that you basically stop using, right? Active numbers are ones that you can use, that you have support for. And then of course you can buy a number for yourself, which is what we're going to do. So here I'll tell you what, you can go ahead, select United States. Make sure that you have at least SMS enabled. What I recommend is that you select all of them, because later on, whatever hacks you're building, it's always a good idea for you to have support for these capabilities. Otherwise, you'll just have to keep purchasing a new number for each of them. As a hacker, I just recommend keeping them all together. And after that, you can purchase whatever number you prefer. That should be totally all right. The good part is that while there is a monthly fee, it's all going to be taken out of the credits you have, so you won't have to be billed separately for it. So yeah, we can go ahead and purchase a number that you like. Since I already have one, I won't be purchasing a new number right now. but you can go ahead and do so as per your comfort. All right. And in fact, once you've got your number, the fun thing is, it just, to make my life a little easier, it just shows me all the necessary details on my console, so I can copy paste from here directly, which is rather convenient, isn't it? So that's how easy it is to set up Twilio. Um, in fact, I will be showcasing, of course, how you can send a message with Twilio as we go forward. In the meantime, once your account is set up, make sure let's make sure that we have SendGrid up and running as well, right? Pranjal, I will get to Maui once again. I had sent in the setup links earlier so that everyone could get set up with Visual Studio's preview version, and that we get Maui installed on your systems. As soon as that is done, we will be checking out the application as well. All right. So we did, and I think we've got retro here. All right. So, hi. What we've covered right now is we've, of course, checked into the event, looked at how you can get .NET Maui installed on your system, because we'll be using Maui to build an app later on. And then we've explored how you can sign up on Twilio to, and get yourself some free credits that we have support for. The good thing is that we're not going to be using any paid plans today. There's a lot of free plans available, and that's what we're going to be leveraging here. All right. So for SendGrid as well, it's definitely a good idea. You can get started for free. They have a free offering, and you can find details about that in the pricing as well, right? They've got a free plan that lets you send 100 emails a day, so that's good enough for us. We're not going to need any of the paid plans here for sure. None of that. So here you can go ahead, you can start your sign up and create a new account for yourself. I already have an account, so I'm not going to be registering again. But let's go ahead, let's sign in. And I'm not sure what happened there. Yeah, that could have just been a little network issue. All right. I've, let me just log in here with my 2FA. Once you sign up, you can see a portal as the one that will come up here. We'll go through that once again in a little bit. In the meantime, all right, if you've got a Twilio phone number, that's great. Good thing that you followed through these steps. All right. We're going to return back to that as we start building. First, I'm just helping everyone get set up on Twilio and SendGrid. All right. The link for SendGrid here, it's just sendgrid.com. I have sent it here in the chat, so you can check it out. All right. So here with SendGrid, of course, we've got a few different options. What we will be playing around is with the email API. All right. Just make sure of one thing, that when you go to your account details, we will need an API key later on. So you can go ahead and you can create one for yourself whenever you want. I have a few test keys for when I was experimenting with things, but you can go ahead and do that. And in your account details, you will need to add a single sender here for you. So I'll tell you what, actually, once you go to the integration guide, that should help you get started with that on SendGrid. I see you've mentioned VS Code. Unfortunately, VS Code will not work out for .NET Maui. What you need is the full-fledged Visual Studio ID, and in particular, the preview version of that. Visual Studio Code, while a great code editor, does not have support for Maui. So I'll resend the link for that. That's not an issue. We can get that done. Let me go ahead. We go to the build first app section, and here on Get Started, you can find the links to install Visual Studio 2022 preview. So I will just send that. Oh no, that's just something that Sendgrid asks whenever you're registering. It's totally all right. It's more just details about who you are, nothing more than that. Okay, that's all right. That's all right. So Maui is a .NET based cross-platform application framework that lets you build applications for your mobile and desktop, fully native applications. And Maui stands for Multi-Platform App User Interface. So if you've heard of Xamarin in the past, Xamarin or Xamarin Forms, Maui is the successor to that. It's a platform that I work with. It's a platform I like. So I'm going ahead and building with Maui. But the fun thing is that, these applications, of course, are not just, you're not closed off to Maui. You can use whatever platforms you like, whether you like, you know, React Native or Flutter, or if you want to build just a web app instead or a native mobile app, it's totally an option. Yes, you can absolutely integrate with React. It's your choice. We're not restricting you on that. It's just that I prefer using this platform, so I'm going to be building with it on stream. It's something that I am comfortable with. It's something that I have experience with, right? But there is no mandate. You are free to build with whatever you like. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead now and I am going to get started building a little console app first with the web API and with Twilio, and we'll then port that over, take that over to you know we'll take that over to Maui, of course, while it keeps setting up for you all. Okay, just so that we can understand how Twilio and SendGrid are gonna work for us. So I am going to go ahead and click on Web API, of course. We're going to be using the Web API in order to send emails forward, all right? We're not going to be using the SMTP relay for now. As we do that, we can see there are already a few different SDKs available for us, like Node.js, Python, PHP, Java, Ruby, Go, and C Sharp, which is great for us because we're going to be using the C Sharp um, SDK here. That being said, if you directly just want to hit the API, if there isn't an SDK in your preferred language, you can look at the curl documentation. That should let you know what the API endpoint is, what headers it needs, what payload format and structure it needs, and that should get you sorted out, to be honest. So if you want to work with a language beyond these, just have a look at the curl documentation, and that should get you going and ready. I'm going to select C Sharp for now because I'm going to be working with .NET throughout. Okay. Now, as soon as we select C Sharp, it will show us this documentation as to what all we need. First things first, we need a .NET version over Framework 4.5.2. What we're going to be using is .NET 6. That does get installed with Visual Studio, but if you want to make sure that it's installed anyway, you can go to the .NET website and download it from there as well. We've got .NET 6 here. We can download the SDK. If you want, I can send you a link. And the good thing about this application here, at least, with what we're going to be building first, the little console app with Twilio and Sendgrid is .NET is fully cross-platform. So you can build that on Linux as well and with Visual Studio Code if you like. It's just with Maui in particular, we need Visual Studio IDE. With VS, .NET Maui is the main one because I'm going to be making it for Android. You can create Windows as well, but if for now, just selecting Maui is totally all right. There is no pressure about that. You can later on go back and install any of these add-ons as well. Whenever you please, whenever you want to learn something more. So it's not going to be a problem. Just you'll be okay with Maui only for now as well if that's what you want. All right, so of course, once you've got .NET set up, we need to create an API key, and I'm going to create one for INIT. All right, I'll create a little key here, and it's going to give this key to me, which we're going to use later on. Okay. Next up, of course, we need to update our development environment with the environment variables. I'm not going to be setting up an environment right now. I'm not going to be adding it there in the meantime, but it's generally a good practice. So make sure to do that. After that, of course, we want to install the SendGrid package. And then they've given us a little code example that we can try out. So I am gonna just leverage this. I'll go ahead, I'll create a little .NET console app for us where we can try out how to work with SendGrid first, and then we'll take that over to Maui. Let me go ahead now, create a little .NET console app. I'm gonna open my terminal, .NET new console. This command, by the way, it's just there to help us create a new .NET console app. Okay, and I'm gonna name it Learn Twilio Sendgrid, because that's what we're doing essentially here, aren't we? And as soon as I click on that, it creates this little console app for us. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna open this console application here in VS Code for us. And we have a little console app that's created. I am gonna add build and debug assets for C# here for us. Let me just expand this so that it's easier to see. Just to make sure everything is up and running, I'm gonna run this application once. All right. Just so that we know everything's on the go, on running. And yes, the hello world works. So my SDK is all up and set. And this is a good test. I mean, by the way, if .NET wasn't properly installed, you wouldn't be able to create the console app either. But what we're gonna do is, for now, this is a good way to test as well. All right, with Twilio and Sendgrid here, we're basically creating a hack to send a message, right? What better way to do that than with two of my favorite communications platforms? So we're going to be using Twilio SMS and Sendgrid to build an application that can send a message. Now, coming back to Sendgrid, we've got this lovely little example here that's all right and all ready for us that we can work with. So let me go ahead. I'll just copy this in the meantime so that it's easier for us to paste. Makes life a little easier. Yeah. Just gonna. Oh, in the meantime, by the way, we had to install, add the SendGrid package as well, right? So for that, the command to do that in your terminal is .NET add package and then the name of the package. In this case, that's SendGrid. So we will add the SendGrid package here for us. And doing so, well, adds the package, of course, which you can see in your CS proj here. The CS proj is if you're a JavaScript person, the CS proj is the equivalent of a package.json. And as soon as I add any packages, it'll add a reference here for it in my CS proj as well that you can later on use to restore projects, whenever you like, since you're not going to be pushing the build files to GitHub in general, right? So we go ahead. I'm going to go and I'm going to paste this entire sample as it was. And I think it'll be a little difficult to see unless I close off the side. So let me do that. So here we've got our little example. And let me tell you what this example does. What this here is going to do is it is going to, it has an API key. Once, the API key that we brought over, let me copy that over from here as well, right? Because we need to. All right, since we're not using the environment, I can just go ahead and I can remove this. So what this little console application here is going to do, the sample here is going to do is, it's going to, take our API key, send that into a SendGrid client that the SendGrid SDK has to initialize it. In that, add the email ID we're sending an email from, add a subject, and then, have an email ID that we're emailing to, of course. After which, what we'll do is we will add some plain text content and some HTML content. All right. So once that is done, of course, what we can do here is, we can, after that, using the mail helper they have, create an email. So I'll tell you what, let's see if this, of course, this isn't going to run. Um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover back and just check, where we've got the, the sender authentication, because, before we saw that there are two email IDs, right? But how exactly do we choose which email ID to use? For that, we need to just verify a single email address to use as a sender. In my case, I have my email ID done, but make sure that, before you test it out, you go to sender authentication here. It's a tab in settings on the left side. If it's not visible, let me zoom in. You click on sender authentication, and all right, I think I had a little network issue. But yeah, once you go to sender authentication, just go ahead, click on verify a single sender, and you can add the details of the sender, that you can use to send emails. It can be any email address you own. So make sure that you can do that with your personal ID. And what Twilio product you're here to use? Is this on the Twilio sign up? If it is, then we're using the SMS. That's what we're going ahead. I'll just explore I'll look into your SendGrid issues here, but I'm not sure why exactly you're unauthorized. I'll tell you what. Can you try with a different email address? In this case, that there are times when there are certain automatic triggers that your account might have hit. The best way there to go ahead and is to use support. In the meantime, if SendGrid is an issue, just follow along for the Twilio part once we go ahead and we add that, because we'll be trying that in the same console app. So you can try that out. But yeah, do contact support if your accounts automatically hit that trigger. In the meantime, yes, you can create a sender here for yourself. I already did that. So I can use this email ID now to send emails. All right. So let me go ahead, copy that. I will take that over, and I will replace test example here with example user. I'll just keep this as sender for now. That's okay. For the email address to return, since this is my personal email ID, I'll keep the same one for now. And I'll keep this as receiver just to show how that actually works out. And here we'll say meetings from Global Hack Week Minute. Nice. And I'm gonna just go ahead, keep this little plain text here. I want to change this over, all right? We can do that. You can totally do that. That's fine. You can have whatever you'd like. All right. And now that this is ready, we're gonna go ahead and see if this application works, right? Just before running this, we've got execute.wait here in the main, and that's basically because this is an asynchronous function. In order to call an asynchronous function from a synchronous one, we base in .NET we've got these functions here, but it's just there to run the function, nothing more. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna run this function now. And looks like I forgot to save it. That's what happened. Now that it's saved, we can go ahead and run this. And if everything works out, I should receive an email. So let me open my mailbox here for us. Sheesh. And looks like I do have an email. I just have one here. It looks safe enough to me. And as you can see, we selected sender earlier, right? we were sending it to receiver. So as you can see, we've got this email going pretty nice, and we've got the subject as we stated, the HTML content is there, and it says it was mailed and signed by SendGrid because that's where the email went through. So yeah, bottom line, this actually is pretty cool that way. But it's nice. It's a little text message on your email. Doesn't feel flashy enough now, does it? So we maybe if it's really about sending a little greeting, let's make it feel like a greeting. Let's make it a little fun. So I'm gonna go back to SendGrid and show you this really cool feature they have called dynamic email templates. Here we've got dynamic templates, and what these let you do is they let you design an email for you that you can send out. And I am going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new template for us. We'll call it GSW init for now. Sure, we can use whatever name we want. All right. And I will add a version here. So the good thing is you can actually create an email using, of course, their own templates or design one yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use their design editor to design an email for us. But the good thing is that, if you don't want to use that drag and drop editor, you can also directly add HTML on your own. So it's pretty handy there. All right. So we'll select the drag and drop editor for now, and we will start designing. Let me just have a look once and see what messages we have. Yeah, Pranjal, I said if you're registering on Twilio and you have a doubt, just make sure you have SMS there. That's the one. Once you've signed up on the accounts, you should just have a login there, right? Not sure if that's a big thing. In case you're too worried and you've missed out a little bit, I mean, we've been here for a little while, so you can go to you can review the recording later on as well. It will be available on our YouTube forever, so feel free to check it out later on. So first things first, I'm going to just add a little piece of text here that says greetings from Global Hack Week INIT. We'll add a little party emoji here. Hacking with Twilio and SendGrid is awesome. There's just a little message here that we have for us. Right? And you can go ahead, select this all, select whatever text style you want, maybe make it larger, smaller. You can set headings as if it's markdown or HTML. You can select fonts of your choice. They have a few different ones. Font size is of course there for you to use, for you to check out. I think that's a good one for us. You can select the line height, whether you want to increase it, decrease it. All of these options are there. Then of course, text color. Let's also set a background color for us. All right. And last things, we'll just make sure this is centered, just because why not? Right. This still feels a little empty. So I'll tell you what, let's also add a little GIF here or an image. And I have one downloaded for me. So I'll go back. I'll just go back from text modules to images. And I had this little GIF uploaded for myself already, and it's kind of apt if I'm honest. Yeah. So once you click on that, you can go ahead, you can insert the image, and now our little email, it's going to look really nice, right? It's getting better and better and better. The fun thing is we can also add more stuff, maybe like a button. And let's have a little button here. Why not, right? Let's go ahead and invite people to join us at INIT. So for that, what we can do is we can just have the INIT setup. We can change the background color of this, make it a little brighter. Red looks nice. Red's a strong color, right? So, and then again, this is set at auto, so I'm gonna leave this be as is. I don't want to mess around with it too much. We can set a border. We can change fonts. Pretty nice. For now, though, this looks good. So we can go ahead with this option, and let's just save this in the meantime as well, so that this information doesn't get lost for us later on. For the subject, we'll just add greetings from INIT. So I think that's an all right email for us. Not too bad. Not too bad. I'll just change the version name to INIT for now. It's totally all right. Next up, we can go ahead. We can test this email as well. So I'll just send a test email to myself to see what it looks like. We let the same email ID be as we have here, and we will send a test message. And as I sent a test message from this portal, I can see I've got a new email here that, well, we're gonna say it looks safe. And yeah, it has the message we installed. And the fun thing is, this button works. It's all available. It takes us to the website here as well, which is pretty cool now, isn't it? Now, of course, it's one thing to be able to send it through this, through this channel, but we want to send this out, to people as well, right? We want to personalize it. We want to make people feel nice. The good thing is that with Twilio, you can actually add custom fields here as well. We can add dynamic data. So I'm going to add a little piece of data here, just so that we can have someone's name. This does use a handlebars sort of a format. So once I go ahead, I go to preview, add some test data, like we've mentioned name there, right? So if name is what we're using as our input, if suppose I have a name Aditya, that should work out well for us, right? So this way you can personalize these emails. It's going to be pretty handy because we're going to be trying that in later on in Maui as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to save this for now. All right. We're going to go back because we're going to need this template ID here that we have to build and send emails here with this, with this particular template that we've created as well. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to create, we're going to change up this email a little. All right. We've got our API key. We've got our client already. We've got the from. We don't need the subject this time. We've got the to, but we're going to change this up a little bit now. All right. So instead of sending HTML content here, what we're going to do is we will send a template email. Now the template email has a slightly different structure here. All right. It needs a from email address, a to email address, the template ID, which we saw, which we've just copied over, and our dynamic template data, which is the equivalent of, the JSON that we saw. So I'm just going to remove these. Quick for now. All right. I will save our template ID that we copied over here once, because we'll need that as we go forward. And it seems like there's a little extra space here. We don't need that. We'll keep that away. Send a template email. We'll keep the template ID. And then, of course, we need our dynamic template data, right? Of course, which we didn't yet create. Now, the fun thing is that, with objects here in C#, to convert them to a JSON of that format, we can use a dictionary in the meantime. And it's pretty easy to automatically convert a dictionary. So since it takes in an object instead of a class, we can use a dictionary here as well, which I think can be a little quicker from time to time. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead and create a string dictionary, which should make life a lot quicker for us. And I'll just straight up initialize this with the name. And for now, we can keep it Aditya, right? So this should be a quick little thing. Now I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and let me now send an email through this method. And looks like the email should be sent. I do have a notification with me already. So let me go ahead and open my email. And here we have the email has come through with my name as I entered it, which is pretty nice. So that's what we wanted to do with SendGrid. Now we're going to keep this code here as is because we're going to be taking this over to Twilio. To Maui later on. In the meantime, let me just check the chat for any questions we might have. So we're going to use Twilio's APIs to make, to send a message, and we'll be using SendGrid to send an email. We're not hosting our code on Twilio. We're using their APIs here. We've done our SendGrid test. Now let me go ahead and also add some functionality in for Twilio. Right. So I'm just gonna change this to SendGrid. Right. We'll keep this as SendGrid as well. And next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a function for Twilio. Okay. Now it's a good thing we already got our Twilio details set up here already, because we're going to be needing these, to send an SMS. So I'm going to tell you how you can do that as well. And I'm going to do the tests, of course, on my mobile number, send them over there. But just before I kind of do that, I want to take this off because I want to store my auth token privately and keep that, hidden for now. So let me just stop my screen for a sec. I'll just create the class for that and then stop my screen for a second. I'll just call this helper.cs for now. Okay. And we've got the public class helper. We'll have a public string Twilio SIT. It'll have a public static string. This here is just going to be for our account SID. I'm going to be saving these here for my own purposes later on. And then we're going to have one for our phone number, of course. Our Twilio phone number. Because we're going to be using all three of these to send an SMS and see how that works, right? Of course, to be able to send a message, you need to get all of these set up. So I'm just going to remove this from screen for just a short few seconds while I get these in there. In the meantime, let me know if you were able to get your Twilio and Sendgrid account set up and if anyone has got Maui installed. In case someone is having trouble, you can still rewind and revisit in the YouTube video. Let me share a link to that. Unfortunately, I do want to re-explain and help out, but in the interest of time, it's a little difficult to do that. So I will send in a link to the YouTube video so you can check it out. It's going to remain here. The video is going to be available here forever. So Feel free to look at that. And I am almost ready. Okay. I am ready with my um with my Twilio details. So let me bring my screen back up. Now, the really cool thing about Twilio is that they actually have fantastic documentation here that can let you look at and try out whatever whatever details you want to look at. Just look at all the SDKs and APIs and how they work. And it's available here at twilio.com/docs. I'm gonna take you on the docs page, show how you can check out the SMS examples, and then send a link to that. Yeah, I signed in there, but there is a sign up page available for you on SendGrid. So you can just click on register here if you go to SendGrid's website. Like, if just so sorry for diverting for a second, but okay, I see log out, but there should be a sign up button there, right? You can click on start for free and sign up for an account. It's as simple as that. After that, you just need to go ahead and add a sender as I. So sorry, I had a little internet lapse. Back on now, should be all right. So you can go ahead and register from that and add a sender as I showed you already. After that, it's all the same. No other difference in the process. So yeah, sending an SMS. Here you can just go ahead, click, you can click on get started or send your first message. That should quickly get you set up here, to send one of these. And as I clicked on that, you can see there are all the examples you need available for you, whether it's with Node, C Sharp, PHP, Ruby, Python, Curl. The Curl example is there again if there isn't an SDK available for you. It lets you directly hit, Twilio's endpoint, so you can do that. You're seeing issues setting up Twilio on PowerShell. Could you share what issue you're facing with Twilio? Just maybe elaborate a little, share what error you got in the chat. I'll take that as we go. But yeah, the you can quickly go ahead and get your, we'll just get our Twilio, client set up as well. For that, of course, we need to install the Twilio package. So just like we installed the one we had for SendGrid, I'm going to add a package for Twilio. And as soon as this installs, we will see a reference come up here in the CS project that we have. All right. So it seems to be installing the package for us, and there we have the Twilio package installed. So as soon as that's done, we can go ahead. We can write, we can send a Twilio client dot init and know that it's Twilio client. And in case it seems like it's not working, it's showing an error, right? It can't be found. That's basically because we need to add a little using directive here, which is the equivalent of an import. The fun thing is VS Code lets us just import that based on the SDKs we have. So if you right click, um, okay, there should be an option for code. Oh yeah, sorry, we had that bulk there, but control dot or command dot lets you see these options as well. So if you just click on that, it'll add a reference for you, and then you can go ahead and you can add this SDK. It's the same as now that the SDK is imported into this little file here, you can actually use the functions it has. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to initialize our Twilio client. As you can see, it requires a username and password. Those are our account SID and auth token. So since I already added those in that little helper, I'm going to use that for our purpose. All right. And for the password, we use the auth token. Now, we want to make sure we can create a message. And if we look at the documentation we have, that is done through the message resource class and function that's available in our SDK. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to enter message resource. And that isn't available because there is another little using that we need to add from Twilio's REST API, which comes with the SDK. So not that you have to install something separately here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create this little function for us. Okay. So once we're through here, we're going to go ahead, we're going to create our body. All right. I'm just going to add greetings from INIT. Join us at backpack/init. This should send a message to someone to be able to join init here, of course, right? Then we need to add the phone number that we, a phone number that Twilio can use. So for that, I'm gonna keep my own phone number for now, right? And then we need to add a from number, of course, a number that Twilio is gonna use. So this is the Twilio number that you've just created, okay? I saved mine in the helper I created and I realized it doesn't have to be a string. It's already there, it's a variable. But we've created the number for us already, right? So whatever number you have, you can paste it here. Just make sure that whenever you add a number, you need to have a plus sign and the country code along with it, along with your number. That's something that's necessary. Without that, Twilio won't be able to understand where to direct your number to. So make sure you have those details. Now that this is created here, for now, I'll just comment out our SendGrid function and I will call our Twilio function here for us. Just gonna trigger that. All right. Let me go ahead and run this function once. And if it works out, I should receive an SMS anytime now that, well, oh, looks like I have one. Let me just make myself a little larger here, because if you can see on my phone, you will see that I got a message here. Greetings from Init. Join us at hack_init. Just the message that I sent in. I know it's a little blurry, but yeah, that should make it a little easier to see, right? We've got a message here from my Twilio number. So yeah, this way, the SMS works as well, which is great, right? Both our Twilio and our SendGrid functionalities are up and running. And this is especially important now because we're going to be taking this over to our .NET Maui application. So I'm going to leave this here as is, and I will open. No, Whew. So far so good. Yep. Okay, so there we have our preview. I'll just pin this to my taskbar for now. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and create a new Maui project. Yep. Back at Maui. Just by the way, in case you've installed Maui and you still want to add any of those offerings and selections we showed earlier, you can add that from by clicking on modify in your Visual Studio installer. Okay. This is the one we need for now. I just have ASP.NET and Universal Windows Platform already because I do other stuff with them. But for now, the only one that you really need is for this session, the one you need is .NET Multi-Platform App UI Development. That's the kit we want for now. Okay. You can install any of the other ones in your own free time whenever you want. You can build stuff with Python or Node.js or C++ with Visual Studio IDE as well. And there are some other tool sets. So that you can try out in your own free time as necessary. For now, though, it's not a big worry for us. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna create a new project for us. All right. And as I create a new project, we can see there are quite a few templates already available for us. Okay. What I want here is a Maui application. So I'm just gonna type Maui, and I see we've got three options here: a .NET Maui app, a .NET Maui Blazor app, or a Maui class library. Well, we're going to be using the first option, that is .NET Maui app, that lets us create native applications. Fun thing is that with Maui, they're also trying to merge the gap with Microsoft and the .NET Foundation. They've been trying to merge the gap between, well, the web and native applications as well. So Blazor here lets you build hybrid applications. Maui will let the first option will let you build native applications, and that's really more if you want to build a library of classes or an SDK, stuff like that. Then the third option works for you. But we'll select the first one. Okay. I click on next. I'm gonna name this GHW init send a message. You can name it whatever you want. That's totally an option. I'm just naming this as my project. Just keep in mind, you know, our what this little session here. And I'm gonna change my user directory to my desktop. Yeah, my desktop, that's the one. Or I'll tell you what, I'll create a new folder in it here for us. Select this folder, and I'll create my project within this. And of course, with Maui, we're gonna keep .NET 6 as our only option. That's the only one that supports it yet. Going forward with .NET 7 and so on, of course, you will see other framework options as well. While this is setting up. Oh, so we've tried out, Sendgrid and our Twilio functions already. We've tried those as console applications, and now we're going to take this forward and play around with this here in Maui, and we're going to see how this works out together. All right. All right. I'm looking at this error in the meantime, and I'm not. What I think here is I'm not. I think you might have. Maybe your authentication details aren't going through in your SDK. I'm not entirely. Oof, I'll probably need to. I'll tell you what. After the session, if you can send it in the Twilio channel, I'll try and have a look once. Or we've got Joe there as well, so we can get more help. And you can share a little more on how you ended, what you did before this error, and how you hit it. But the Twilio channel should be a great place for us to discuss that. So here we have is our main page XAML file. And what this does essentially is, XAML is extensible app markup language. It is basically an XML like language that lets us define UIs for applications for our desktop here with a universal Windows platform and with .NET Maui. So this is where we can create our little UI. And then behind this XAML file, there is a code behind C# file as well, where we've got our functionalities marked out. So if I go ahead and I run this, I do realize I think I will have to, we can try that out in the Android emulator we have created for Maui as well. We can test it out there. So it's just going to set up the emulator for us once. I'm honestly not entirely sure why this is frozen at this for the second. This happens sometimes. It is a preview version, so But anyway, if that's too much trouble, I'll try and connect my phone once directly as well. That should help out a little bit. Yeah, I think the issue we were getting here is basically because, well, the emulator might not entirely be set up. So I'm just gonna wait for a second while this happens. And in the meantime, look at any questions we have coming up as well. Pranjal, for that error, just make sure you send it to the Twilio channel we have here for INIT. I'm just gonna get the Visual Studio preview sorted out in a second. You know what? Even if we have a little trouble with the Android version, we can always test out on the Windows machine since we're on there anyway. So why don't I do that in the meantime? I really hope this works out all right for now. But yeah, the Windows machine is working. It's starting the build. I'm assuming we had a little trouble with Android because I don't have an emulator set up at the moment. I can do that. We can set up an Android device for us. See if those details are here. I'll keep this on the side in the meantime. Oh, looks like there is an emulator. It might have just had some trouble communicating with the emulator then. But yeah, so with Windows, it looks like we've got a working and running file, and this here is an application that you can click on multiple times and it'll show you a click counter. All right. Um, Let me just yeah. So if I go to my Solution Explorer, what this does here is, uh, you know, we saw that we saw a little UI earlier, right? We saw that this is a little vertical stack with our image at the top with a little hello world label, a welcome label, and then this button here with a counter. So just as we saw, we've got our image, we've got our hello world and a little label here for us to check out, and you can click on this. The fun thing is that .NET Maui actually supports hot reload. So if suppose I change this to greetings from Global Hack Week in it, see that label changes here for us as well, which is of course pretty handy when you're testing out these applications, right? So yeah, well, looks like the basic application is working. And as far as Android emulators go, I'm still not sure what went wrong there, but we'll look into that later. Not a big worry. The good thing is though that we can always still continue testing on the Windows machine because it's the same project, so we're gonna get the exact same experience there. What we do want here is we want a few fields to check out our Twilio and SendGrid functionalities, right? So why don't we do one thing? Why don't we change this Okay. Slight network issues here and there. Once again, very sorry about that. I'm trying to figure out a way by which I can kind of just tether my hotspot once. Let me figure that out. But in the meantime, now that we've got this up and running, let's just change the label we had at the top to invite friends to global hack peak in it. Right? I'm gonna remove this label for now, but what I will do here is okay, we don't need this. And we'll keep the button and the button name as you know we'll change this here as well. I'll tell you what, let's just create a new button altogether because why not? We might as well check that out, right? The fun thing is that we've got a little toolbox here or that Visual Studio provides that lets us add UI features and controls and stuff that we want. I am not sure why this isn't reloading at the moment, but no worries. We can just go ahead and add a button ourselves directly. I'm just gonna set the close off as well. We're gonna keep we're gonna keep a name for this button, of course. We're gonna keep it as our send message button, and we're gonna use this button. After this, we'll add a couple of fields in the middle as well that we can use. I'm gonna name this as send message button. We're gonna center it out. Just make sure that it's there at the in the center of the page. Center as in your horizontally in the line. And we will add well an event handler. Okay, move this underscore. And as you can see, as soon as I created that, you can see there is an event handler here for us. One thing we do want to do is we want to change this. We want to make this an async function. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do that. Actually, no, it won't matter too much because we can just create it as earlier, right? Let me just let that be as is. Yeah, we'll just let this be as is for now. And now that that's all set and ready, we can add some new other options here for us, and we can check these out here. So what I want is, I want a little text area, right, for us we can use that people can enter in. So let me just see what we have here for that. Say we had an editor. I do have to look and see how this UI looks like, but I don't think editor should be the one for us now. Or if it is, why not? We're gonna have to test out this UI once, and I'm probably gonna have a look at the documentation here because I am really not sure why the toolbox isn't showing up at the moment. Might just be my network if I'm honest. But let me go ahead, let me open the Maui documentation. But in the meantime, okay, yes, we do need to add some text here. Yeah, we've got send message and that's that. But so at least for now, this is up and running. I'm gonna go ahead and close this off because I need to hop back to the .NET Maui documentation. See, this is what happens whenever we're building out stuff. Honestly, sometimes things look great and sometimes things get a little messy, and that's okay. Happens all right. All right, so go ahead and okay, we've got our different options. We've got graphics, controls. You've got pages, layouts, views. It's got a lot of information here now, doesn't it? But I cannot find a little control here for us. So this is exactly when a Google search helps. Okay. Entry is the one we want. And editor was actually all right. That wasn't the wrong option. So we're gonna keep entry for now. Um, yeah. That's exactly what I wasn't able to remember, if I'm honest. It is similar to it is a similar structure as ones we've seen in the past with Xamarin and with XAML. So yeah, let's go ahead. Let's add an entry. There we have it. Really not sure why I couldn't find it earlier, but okay. So this here is going to be a field for an email. And I'm going to just call this email address. That is, we're going to need this name when we leverage this later on in our XAML.cs. This helps out on that note. And after that, we want to keep a placeholder here. Okay. We can just keep the placeholder as email address at bar.com. Again, horizontal options. We'll keep this at the center. And next thing that we want to do is we want to, is there anything else? No, I think this should be okay for now. In case we do need some UI help, we can always just try that out, right? We'll check it out. We'll see how it works. Next up, we want to do phone number. So we'll change this to phone number. Kept a little placeholder here for us as well. And I just want to make sure that, we're able, as soon as we get these details, we're able to get, we're able to actually use them as well, right? So I'm just going to create a variable called to email. And this way, we can get back the information we want. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create, our to phone number, and I will keep this as number.text. The reason we keep .text is because we want to make sure we're able to get the text out of this XML as it is typed, right? So I'm just gonna keep these options here as they are, and I will use the system.diagnostics class to ensure we're able to get back this, you know. I just want to see if this text comes up in our console, just so that we know that it's all working and functioning all right. Okay. So I'm just gonna add test, and I will keep our to email here, another line, and our phone number. So if this works out, we should be able to see our email addresses, whatever we type in, and our email address and the phone number we have in our console. Okay. So it looks like this app is here, and our fields are showing up, which is great. I'm gonna add just foo@bar.com, and for the phone number, I'll keep the same as what we had, but I'll just make a little change here just to see whether these texts are coming in. It will keep it different. So if I click on send message, oh, it looks like our function is triggering. If you can see these printed, these details. So That works out well for us. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna stop this now because we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna now add our Twilio functionalities that our SendGrid functionalities that we created. So for that, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna copy these over for now. I'm gonna take my screen off for a second because I wanna copy my helper as well. Just make sure that it's all coming over and it's smooth sailing. But of course, you know, just give me a second. I'm gonna get this sorted out. After this, of course, we want to make sure that we have our Twilio SDK and our details available as well, right? There's no point if we can't use those. Let me go ahead and show you how you can add a new file here. So for that, what we do is we just right click here on our project, we go to add, and I add a new class. And we see that we've got a lot of these options here that we can add. It's got content pages for Maui and so on and so forth. But for now, we just need a little basic C# class here for us. So we'll call it helper class as we did earlier. Now I'm going to take this off because I need to copy paste it. And what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to quickly go ahead and shift my Sendgrid API key here as well. In the meantime, any questions so far? No questions? Right. So I have got my SendGrid API key in my helper as well. I'm gonna keep it there because this helper won't go up, of course, when I push it to Git, right? I want to make sure that those details aren't around. So yeah, okay. I've shifted my API key there. You can close it now. Yep, back to stream. Now that we've got our little Twilio code here, of course, I want to make sure that um, of course, we need to get the Twilio and the SendGrid dependencies installed here as well, right? So for that, we can right click and just click on manage NuGet packages. Now, NuGet is the package manager we have for .NET, similar to how you have NPM for Node.js. So that's how NuGet works. It lets, and the great thing here is that Visual Studio has a nice inbuilt UI for the package manager as well. Back when you were adding those .NET add package commands, that lets us communicate with NuGet directly to get back such packages and so on and so forth. So now I'm just going to go ahead, go to browse, because we want to install our packages for Twilio and SendGrid, right? So as I searched, we've got both of these here, pretty convenient. And we'll install the latest stable versions. And it's installing the package, installing these packages for us through the package manager. The good thing is it lets us see whatever it's installing for us, any um, internal dependencies it's need. So it gives us all the details. And similarly for SendGrid, we'll go ahead and install that as well. The cool thing is you can actually check out whatever you've installed through packages here. It's got all the information you need. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna add references just the way we had, and I can see some errors in them. Go to the top and add these references now for us. So that cleared up Twilio client.init. By the way, we don't need this. Using Twilio, wait, not a dot. Dot paste dot API dot 2010 dot account. And that clears out some of our Twilio errors. Similarly, I'll tell you what actually, since we'd already created this a little while back, we can just copy these from here if you want, right? Easy to do that. And since these ones at the top are unnecessary, we'll just remove them. So I see we're in a good situation here. I mean, all the errors are gone. We've got the Twilio functions, but we do need to add a few details here now, because we're not going to be using that number by default, right? Although the message is all right to keep. So I'm gonna add. Wait, I can't have a var here. I'm gonna add a little input to this function that will let me add the phone number I'm calling to. Okay, and we'll keep two phone number here. Similarly with Sendgrid, by the way, we needed a name as well. I just realized. Let me add a function for a name. Just a similar entry. But here we're just gonna rename it as name because we need a name for the email, right? And we will edit that into the message as well. Okay, but that should be okay. I'll add a var name here for us, a variable here that lets us get the name of the person as well. All right. And we'll send both of those into the message because why not? I'll create a little change to our body here that lets us add the name of the person, Similarly, now the from is all right. That's me. I'll just keep the name as my name now. And for the two details, we will keep our email address now instead. So I'm going to remove this email ID we have here. We're going to keep our two email, and for the name, the person who we're reaching out to, keep their name instead. And here similarly for the name, because we want to mention their name in the email, we'll keep that as it goes. So bottom line, this should actually be good to go. Now all we need to do is we just need to call both of these functions here, right? So I'm gonna call our Twilio function and actually we can rename these. We can rename these to send SMS and send email, and that's how we'll call them. For send SMS, we want to send our phone number here, and we want to send our name, right? And for email. We want to send the email, and we want to send, well, of course, the name. And yeah, so the app should actually be good to run. Let's go ahead and let's try it out now. Let's see if it all's working. So I'm just gonna create this application here. Okay. I have my email open on the side. So whatever is there, whatever's running, we can test it out immediately. Right now, I haven't added too much error handling because we're just trying to learn how these functions are working. You can go ahead and do that on your own as well. Make it a little more robust. That's always a good idea. But yeah, so with our app here, we have our fields for our name, email address, and phone number. I'm gonna add my name as Aditya, my email address as the one I added earlier as well, my phone number as well, my phone number here. And I will now send the message. So let me keep my email address open because, yep, looks like the messages have gone through because here I have an email that's available here for me that says greetings from, well, Global Hack Weekend at Aditya as I entered my name. And, you know, it's got the message. And similarly, the SMS that we created earlier on, let me show that to you as well. Or that I'll just expand my personal screen. But as you can see, I've got a message that says greetings from INIT Aditya. And it's a good thing we can see Aditya because I just added that field, right? I think it's a little blurry, but that's because my cam focuses on faces, but it should give a basic idea as to what's happened there, right? And now, I mean, if it seems like it's a little tricky, let me just, you know, it's all working, it's all running, the functions work, which is great, right? I will see and try and hope that we can get it up and running on the Android emulator, but that's more of an emulator issue than anything else at this point. Um, Not sure why we ran into that, but oh, okay, I see what happened. I think that should get us running. Yeah, it'll build now. I'll keep the same personal details this time, and but I'll change the name here just for the sake of it. We'll keep the name as init and see if it invite, or we'll keep the name as MLH and see if it says hi to MLH instead, right? So because this is the first build, it can take a little bit of time, but it'll get our emulator up and running pretty quickly now. It's not crashing for sure. That's basically because I forgot to accept the licenses for this emulator. So that was my bad. The fun thing is that we can actually change these images and so on and so forth. This is something I really like from the former from Xamarin Forms. Now that we've got resources as a folder here, it's far easier to actually add these images, and you can add custom fonts, icons, so on and so forth. This was relatively a little more difficult because earlier with Xamarin, rather than have a single project for all of these, you had different projects for each platform. So of course you had one common folder where you could add code just like we have here, but then resources had to be added individually to each platform. So this has actually made it a lot easier to build, than before. A lot of custom information. A single project is easier to manage, right? You've got all the properties here, launch settings, everything is available. It's much easier to work with right now, I feel, than in the past. So we're just getting the emulator ready. And once that works out, I will go ahead and I will run a final test on the Android emulator, show you how it works, that it works there. And then we'll push this code to GitHub and submit to dev post. In the meantime, any doubts? Anyone has any queries or any questions? I'm not sure why it's taking so much time for the emulator to be ready. Let me just see if the emulator is running or not. Just gonna stop this for a second. Oh, it seems like it's still using some of our older Xamarin Build stuff in that front to get things running. While this still gets ready, please let me know if you have any questions, anyone. I'd love to have a look at those ones and help out, help anyone, figure those out as well. I think the reason it's taking time is because it has to then go ahead and I have to check if I might just not have some Android details installed that I might need to. There can be a decent bit of a setup here from time to time as well. But I think I forgot to. I really hope I haven't forgotten to install the SDK beforehand. Oh no, looks like that's there. Or is it? Oh my god. I really hope this wasn't the issue. Let me just quickly apply. I mean, ideally, it does have an SDK platform there. So it should be okay. Should be running. I'll open the .NET Maui documentation in the meantime, see if that has something to say about this. Oh, wait, Android. Yeah. Okay, so we need to install the SDK, of course. And, okay, we need a system image there, which I don't think I have right now. This will have to install first for that. Okay, it's downloading the SDK platform for us. Yeah, that's basically why it's taking a little bit of time. But this should get us all set and good to go. Basically, it's because the emulator is occupied with some of these details, is why it took time. But it's moving the Android components over to the project. So once this is through, we should be able to, yeah, we should be able to run the Android app now. After this, I'll just create a Git repository, push this to GitHub, and then we'll go over to dev post to submit, because that's the only thing we're left with. We saw the application running earlier on Windows anyway. So yeah, this is just a final little test. I'll install the other stuff later on. It's okay. But we've got our SDK build tools and emulator and all there. Check these diagnostics, it's running. Yeah, honestly, I'll stop this build for now. I think there's some Android SDK stuff that needs to be kind of reviewed once. Yeah, majorly. But that's something I can continue debugging later on as well. Should not be an issue. We've got the solution running, which is primarily what we wanted. So it's totally all right. Not an issue. Let me go ahead and let me create a Git repository here. It's mainly just some Android stuff that we're stuck with. So I'm gonna go ahead now and I'm gonna create the repository here that I want, and I do want, well, a git ignore available for us. Plus we want to add a readme, because why not? Actually, you know what? I want to make sure that I have a proper git ignore in place. So let me, I'm just gonna create a git repository for now, not push it to GitHub at the moment. We'll let this be MIT. For now, we'll just create it locally because I want to add a file before I actually push this to GitHub. So I'm going to create a local Git repo first. And I want to check once if it's already made a commit now, because if I don't, oh wait, yeah. No, I'll need to kind of remove these commits from here, hard reset, because I want to make sure that my details there don't go through. I don't want my personal details in the middle. So let me reset. Wait, yeah, cached was. Hmm. I need to view this commit once. Okay, that's all this has. Fine. Let me go ahead. Um, I do need to visit my git ignore once and make sure that all the details that I want. One second. Let me open the directory for this directly because I need to edit our git ignore before I send this over. Okay. All right. What I also want to remove is I'm just removing the helper that we have just to make sure that an unnecessary file that I want doesn't go through. Yep, that should look good. Just gonna keep a simple git command for us. And now I'm gonna publish it to GitHub. The thing is that it's gonna give me a it's gonna create the repo for me as it says here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna push this to a GitHub repo and then I can check out the entire folder, which is pretty handy. So now let me go ahead and open up GitHub. Once I open up GitHub, I will be able to find, you know, my repository here from my repositories, on my account. And, we can see that it's there. It's got all the files. It has, the project that we created and the helper that I didn't want there. It's missing. So that's what I want. That's perfect for me. I'm also going to do one thing and I'm going to add the YouTube link for this session so that anyone checking it out later can access it. And I'm also going to keep this around because we want to be able to, you know, submit this on DevPost. Now that our project is ready and we're, we're, we're good to move forward to submit, let's go ahead and do that on DevPost as well, right? So on the INIT registration page, you should be able to find a DevPost for day 2. I am throwing in a link for that here in the chat as well. and you can see it up here. Let me go ahead and log in, because I mean, I want to be able to submit here as well, right? So I'm just going to go ahead. That should be my portfolio. Yes, that is my portfolio. That's got all my projects. So yeah, we're in the right place, right account. I'll go ahead and I'm going to join this hackathon now. All right. We are working solo here. I got to know about, well, MLH through about Global Hack Weekend through MLH from their website. You can add how you got to know about INIT here. I'm going to keep this as MLH coach, and eligibility requirements are necessary, of course. So we're going to go ahead and register now. Now I'm going to go and create a project for us, for me at least. And I'm just going to name it. I will name this file as, create a hack to send a message, DHW init. And I'm going to just add a tagline .NET Maui app to SMS and email. Init greetings. About this project, so we don't need too much. All right, it's all right. In hackathons, of course, that's another matter. And here I'm gonna write cross-platform app that SMSs and emails people greetings from MLH Global Hack Week in it. We built it, built using .NET Maui, Sendgrid, and Twilio SMS. So that's just a little thing for me. You can add more information if you want. Just gonna add a few tags here. For the try it out, make sure to add your GitHub repository. That is actually very important. Make sure that this is available here. All right. And actually, I'll tell you what, let me go back to my project details. Now, a video isn't important. This is not mandatory, so you don't need to worry too much about it. That being said, if you want to add, there's no harm. I'm going to keep my video demo link here and just go ahead and continue. Project media image gallery is not mandatory. But after the details are added, make sure that you select the right option here. That is, create a hack that shares a message. I'll edit my title to say shares a message, but make sure that you select the right option here. All right. After this, we save and continue. Check into the terms and conditions, and we submit our project. All right. And that is about it for today's session. So I know that we're already at time. It's long 2 hours, had a lot of stuff happening, but it was definitely a fun hack. So thank you so much for hanging around, everyone. It was great spending time with you all. I had a ton of fun. Do ensure that you're active in our Discord server throughout. In it, you can chat with me or any other MLHers in case you have any doubts or queries. And definitely hope to see you interacting more. I will be available later on as well for a really cool networking session. So we can definitely have fun there as well. Thanks a lot once again. And best of luck for the rest of it. Bye bye.